the Nonprofit Podcast, powered by Donorbox.
Only 3 weeks into the new year, and we can already see 2024 is going to be challenging. Can AI help nonprofits with marketing, or will they fall flat by faking authenticity? Which form of payment will your donors prefer this year? What is that one key thing that makes a nonprofit every donor's choice? And how can you make it work for your organization? Well, we've been polishing our crystal ball, sorting through a million different opinion pieces and calibrating predictions against our best practice experience to bring you the top emerging trends for nonprofit fundraising in 2024. Welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast. I'm Jena, the nonprofit advocate here at Donorbox. We are here each week with practical actions you can use today to increase donations and take your nonprofit to the next level tomorrow. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Lindsey Baker-Bauer, our marketing content writer here at Donorbox. Lindsey recently wrote an insightful article on the top 5 fundraising trends to expect in 2024 for the Donorbox nonprofit blog. And I am really eager to chat with her more about these insights. So welcome back, Lindsey.
Thanks, Jena. I'm always happy to be a part of these conversations.
So in your article, it starts with a powerful focus on building donor trust, the first trend for 2024. And I'd say that this is the anchor for our conversation today. In a year that promises challenges and potential shifts in the nonprofit sector, the trust relationship becomes crucial. And you and I have talked about this a bunch. So how do you see this trust serving as a foundation, especially in these times of uncertainty?
Trust has always been crucial for nonprofits, right? But it's an even more pressing concern now than even a few years ago. You shared this really important stat with me that I wanted to kind of repeat here. Only 52% of Americans reported trusting nonprofits in 2023. And that is a significant decrease of 7 points from 59% in 2020. So in an area where skepticism is high, donors want transparency. They want to know their contributions make a real impact. They want to know where their hard-earned cash is going and how it's being used.
Yeah, for sure. I thought those stats were pretty staggering. I can't believe that almost half of Americans don't trust nonprofits, right? So you emphasize transparency, empowerment, and personalization to really enhance donor trust. So can you share a little bit more about how nonprofits can practically implement these strategies?
Absolutely. So let's break that down. First, transparency starts with clear communication. Nonprofits should be open about how every dollar is utilized, whether that's through regular updates, newsletters, or even just posts on social media. Keeping donors informed fosters that important trust. Empowerment is another powerful aspect that I think some nonprofits don't necessarily think about. Empowering is about giving donors options to give, recognizing their contributions, providing those different ways to contribute, and acknowledging their impact by showing them the tangible outcomes of their support. Plus, giving them the power to control their recurring donations, like with the Donorbox donor portal. That's really crucial to building their trust, and that's going to encourage them to give more. Now, personalization, of course, is more than just using a donor's name in an email. It's about understanding their individual connection to the cause. So nonprofits can segment their donor base based on demographics, giving history, or interests. This allows for more targeted communication that will resonate with those specific groups. For instance, tailoring messages for donors interested in specific programs or initiatives increases the likelihood that they'll respond, and that saves your team valuable time. It makes your outreach more effective. So this strategy is all about making donors feel like more than just donors, more than just contributors. It's about making them feel like valued members of your organization. And this sense of belonging reinforces that commitment and establishes a deeper connection with them.
I love that. I think you're right. A lot of organizations don't think about empowerment in that way of giving that flexibility and like control in how they're giving. So thank you for that. So I want to shift gears and delve into the second trend you highlighted in your article, AI in fundraising, with the caveat, carefully. So while technology can streamline processes for sure, your article, you emphasized the importance of maintaining authenticity. So could you share a little bit more about why authenticity is really important when incorporating AI into fundraising efforts?
Yeah, I mean, we had to include AI, right? AI is a very powerful tool. There's no doubt about that. It can save time, generate ideas, and take on those tasks that your team needs support with. However, authenticity, meaning people, is really at the heart of effective fundraising. And donors, especially in 2024, are really discerning. They can tell when your appeal is generated by AI because it doesn't feel right. They don't feel that connection to it, which means they're less likely to give. So there is a right way to use AI. Nonprofits need to customize those AI-generated materials to fit their unique voice and maintain that authentic connection with their audience.
Yeah, I think that your point about customization is really the key here. It's not about replacing authenticity with automation, but using AI to be like a tailored assistant. And hey, listeners, we actually have a good blog on using AI tools, including ChatGPT, to enhance your fundraising efforts. So I'm going to be sure we link that in the show notes today.
Yeah, exactly. AI is a helping hand, but it's not a replacement.
Yeah, and I'd say, you know what, in my own experience, and I could talk about AI all day long. I think it's so fascinating, but in my own experience as someone who writes content but isn't actually a content writer or a marketer by any means, I often use AI to refine my messaging for different platforms. So for instance, I sometimes use ChatGPT to refine my original message that I typed up for my own brain, but specifically for LinkedIn or Twitter, or I'll use AI to check that I've maintained those essential elements like the active voice, right, throughout my posts, to make sure that my message is really resonating effectively while still keeping, that authentic content that and tone that I was really going for. And that's another example of how people can use it without relying too heavily on it to create original content all on its own.
That's a great way to use it. I mean, it really is a delicate balance between leveraging AI's efficiency and then preserving your unique voice.
Absolutely. And again, we'll link a helpful resource in the show notes for you guys if you'd like to learn more. Okay, now let's explore the third trend you highlighted, cashless giving. So you mentioned that as much as $2 trillion of cash that was circulating in 2020 will be out of circulation in 2024. And that actually surprised me. That's a really pretty crazy shift. So how do you anticipate this cashless trend impacting nonprofit fundraising, and what steps can organizations take to adapt?
It's a significant shift, and we're already seeing that in action. So it will require some strategy rethinking, especially for in-person fundraising. Cashless giving options like the Donorbox Live kiosk app, text to give, and QR codes, those are no longer just conveniences. They're really essential tools in the nonprofit toolkit. With penny pinching donors, nonprofits can't afford to miss out on donations just because someone coming through their space doesn't happen to have cash on them.
So it's not just merely a trend, right? It's really a response to these changing dynamics of how people are using their money, in every single way.
Exactly. And nonprofits who embrace these cashless options are not only staying relevant, but they're also providing donors with a more accessible and user-friendly and frankly, just a better giving experience.
Yeah, I agree. So we will provide more details on these cashless giving tools in our show notes as well. And to our listeners, I really encourage you to consider how integrating these cashless giving options aligns with your fundraising strategy. So again, Donorbox Live kiosk, QR codes, digital wallets. There are a lot of things that you can consider and incorporate very easily. And if we need to demystify it for you, that's okay. Again, we'll have some helpful links for you in the show notes. Okay, we are moving right along onto your fourth trend, which is kind of in the same lane in my mind, and that's alternative currencies. So I think we'll probably keep this one snappy as well. You shed light on the rise of crypto and stock giving, signaling another shift in how people contribute, right? So what is your take on this evolving landscape, and how can nonprofits make the most of it?
It's a fascinating shift as the world moves toward those cashless transactions. Nonprofits definitely shouldn't ignore the growing interest in specifically cryptocurrency and stock donations too. What's great is that it not only benefits donors with double the tax advantages, but it also opens up new avenues for nonprofits to receive more substantial contributions. And especially with stock giving, I mean, it's so much easier now than it ever was before. So it's more accessible for nonprofits. What I'll say here is it's really not just about keeping up. It's about embracing the future of giving and being prepared. And the more nonprofits educate donors about these possibilities, the more they can leverage this trend for the greater good.
I really appreciate that perspective. And again, we have all sorts of goodies for our listeners today. If you are intrigued by this world of alternative currencies, we've got a helpful podcast episode that we recorded a little while back and an in-depth blog waiting for you. And of course, Donorbox's integration with the giving block makes navigating this space smoother for both nonprofits and donors, making all of it easy, stress-free, and accessible. So again, we will link all of those goodies in the show notes for you. Okay, on to the last trend you highlighted, Lindsey. You've pointed out the shift toward more experience-based fundraising. And this inspired me to go down like a whole rabbit hole yesterday, and I got really excited about it. So can you unpack what this trend entails and how nonprofits can incorporate experiences into their fundraising strategies?
So experience-based fundraising or experience-focused fundraising is not just about asking for donations. It's about providing something valuable in return, making the giving process a reward in its own. So donors expect organizations to go above and beyond to attract their interest with unique experiences and exciting, fresh engagement. So this can be a few things: exclusive events, behind-the-scenes access, membership programs, fundraising competitions, or any personalized experience related to your cause.
Yeah, I think this is really interesting. So how do you see this trend reshaping the donor experience?
There's a shift toward building a stronger emotional connection, right? So donors become active participants rather than passive contributors. And we're seeing this in the for-profit sector as well, where consumers expect to become a part of a brand's community. So nonprofits can leverage that same trend.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed a shift away from like traditional gala events or silent or live auctions. But some organizations seem really eager to cast away with those traditional methods and embrace this more experience-based trend. But there's uncertainty on where to start. So how can nonprofits, regardless of their size or their budgets, integrate this experiential approach, do you think?
It's really about creativity and resourcefulness. Nonprofits can start small, even with limited budgets. For example, nonprofits should consider hosting creative events that resonate with their mission. Take inspiration from one of our Donorbox customers, Refuge Hope Partners. I went into more detail about this in the blog, but they did a really great job at highlighting their mission of cultural exchange through an event that was a night of cuisine and cultural performances, a fun event that people want to attend and want to participate in. And they used Donorbox events to sell tickets at different tiers, and each tier offered a unique and engaging experience. So that added to the overall event experience for participants.
So it's not necessarily, though, about these big, grand events, right? It sounds like it can also be really cool and small and creative, but most importantly, mission-aligned experiences that can really make that impact.
Exactly. Nonprofits can also explore things like fundraising competitions. Like this other Donorbox organization, Man Down Cornwall, they use Donorbox peer-to-peer to turn fundraising into a friendly competition. By having a built-in leaderboard, they added really a layer of excitement and camaraderie among their fundraisers. Each participant had their own fundraising page, which made it easy to share progress, encourage others to join in on the fun. It really became a dynamic campaign where supporters could witness real-time updates on who was leading the charge, who was the top fundraiser that day. And this gamified approach not only motivated existing fundraisers to push harder, but also attracted new participants who wanted to be a part of the competition.
Well, you know me, I love peer-to-peer. So I definitely think that peer-to-peer is and can be a fun and engaging way to involve supporters. And going back to, organizations of any size or of any budget, peer-to-peer is a low-cost way to do this experience-based type fundraising. So that's a really great option for, I think, all sorts of organizations. Are there any other experience-based fundraising approaches that you think nonprofits can consider? And I know it's not one size fits all, right? It's really true to your mission. Any other ideas?
Totally. Another good strategy is using membership programs. So, for example, another Donorbox organization, the Asclepius Snakebite Foundation, they did a really great job with their membership program, using Donorbox memberships to collect dues on their website. So they crafted different tiers to really bring in a variety of participants. And those tiers had benefits like exclusive newsletters, early access to events, personalized acknowledgements, and some exclusive swag, which is always fun. Everyone loves swag. And since they use Donorbox memberships to accept their dues, those members can log into their own Donorbox account at any time to manage their commitments, which goes back to empowering your supporters, giving them the power to manage their gift and get more involved in your organization.
Yeah, I think that's another great example, and not one that I would automatically think of when thinking about experience-based. But being a member of something is an experience. I think about all the memberships that I've had or have, and right, I sign up because they're giving me an experience that I love. So you also touched on something important here, and it's not just about those membership perks, although, yes, who doesn't love swag, right? But it all comes back to that trust and that flexibility. So when donors can manage their own contributions, it's like saying like, hey, we trust you, we value your time, and we want you to be in the driver's seat, right? There's nothing more frustrating, I guess, than not being able to manage your own membership or your own contributions. So it's really great to see the versatility of these tools in enhancing the donor experience. And I think that these examples that you showed really demonstrate that incorporating these experiences into fundraising, they don't have to be complex or out of reach. And it's really about just giving your donors something good, right?
Totally.
Before we wrap up, Lindsey, any final thoughts on how nonprofits can navigate fundraising in 2024 successfully? I know that's a loaded question, but I'm giving it to you anyways.
Yeah, for sure. Remember that staying informed about these trends is important, but really what matters most is how you adapt and implement these insights authentically into your nonprofit's unique context. And that helps keep them doable, right? And of course, leveraging technology like Donorbox will help you streamline those processes, enhance your donor relationships, and stay ahead of the curve.
Spot on, I think. So adapt, stay true, and embrace tech. Well, I think that wraps up our discussion on the top 5 fundraising trends for 2024. And to our listeners, if you have any specific questions or topics you'd like us to cover in the future episodes of the Nonprofit Podcast, feel free to reach out to us at podcast@donorbox.org. We would love to hear from you. And Lindsey, a big thank you to you for sharing these valuable insights with everyone today.
My pleasure, Jena. Always happy to be here.
And thank you for choosing to spend time with the Nonprofit Podcast. I hope you've left with the confidence to take a small step today that will make a big difference tomorrow. Be sure to click the download button on your podcast player, then leave the Nonprofit Podcast a review, or give it a thumbs up if you're listening to the Nonprofit Podcast on YouTube. Your review really is a great way to help others find us. You're here to help others. We're here to help you. Until next time, stay inspired.
That warm feeling when you help someone, it's not just happiness, it's fulfillment. And we believe it should be available to everyone, from frontline heroes to first-time fundraisers. Our tools empower you to help others. This is our mission. This is Donorbox, helping you help others.